Salve, Discipuli. Welcome to Lesson 38 Grammar. In Lesson 38, we're going to learn about more infinitives. This is very exciting. And these are really important too. These will show up a lot. You actually already know how to form the present active infinitive and the present passive infinitive. Even though you know how to do it, I'm going to review it with you really quickly. Let's consider the word amo, amare, amare, amawi, amatum. Alright? The second part right there is your present active infinitive without any modification. And that's what you translate as to verb. Okay? So in this instance, amare is to love. Alright? Your present passive infinitive comes from the second part, so we would take amare, alright, and then we would take the E and turn it into an I. We'd end up with amari. That's your present passive infinitive, to be verbed. In this particular instance, to be loved. Okay, so there's your present active infinitive and your present passive infinitive. There's a little something funky about the present passive infinitive when we deal with third conjugation, but we're not going to worry too much about that right now. Actually, I lied. We are going to talk about that real quick. Let's consider ago, agora, egi, octum, the word for smurf. To form the present passive infinitive, the present passive, we go to this part, agora. But instead of just removing the final E and making it an I, we're going to remove the final ERE and make it an I. So that's the present passive infinitive, to be smurfed. That's what happens with third conjugation verbs. All first, second, and fourth, like we just saw up here, change the E to an I and you're done. Third, you have to change the ERE to an I. Okay? To be smurfed. Alright, so let's put that behind us for now. That's the present active infinitive and the present passive infinitive. Now we're going to learn how to make perfect infinitives. Perfect active and perfect passive infinitive. Alright, the perfect active infinitive. Let's take our amo, amare, amawi, amatum. That's the word for love, right? Now, to form the perfect active infinitive, we're going to take this part right here, amawi. Alright? And then we're simply going to add SSE, and we're done. Amawisa is your perfect active infinitive. Third part plus SSE. Alright? A perfect active infinitive is an infinitive, so the first word to say in its translation is to. It's perfect, so we'll say have verbed. To have verbed. So this perfect active infinitive, amawisa, is to have loved. Alright? Now, let's consider the perfect passive infinitive. Alright, the perfect passive infinitive is going to come from the fourth part, amatum. Boom, there it is. Then it's going to have a second part. Just like all perfect passive verbs have two parts, so a perfect passive infinitive will have two parts. Amatum essa. Alright? That's how you form it. Now, this is a perfect passive infinitive, so to translate it, we're going to say to, because it's an infinitive, have, because it's perfect, been, because it's passive, and then verbed. To have been verbed. So amatum essa would be to have been loved. There's your perfect passive infinitive. Now, there's something kind of annoying about this infinitive, this amatum essa. And that is that sometimes the Romans will not even include the essa part. Sometimes they might just include the fourth part, the amatum. And it would still mean to have been loved. Don't stress too much about that. It's not that common, but it can happen. Alright? There's your perfect active amawisa, and perfect passive infinitive, amatamesa. All right. To have loved is your perfect active. To have been loved is your perfect passive. All right. The good news is we're almost done. There's really only one other infinitive form you need to worry about, and that's a future active infinitive. Let's do this in reverse order. If it's a future active infinitive, when we translate it, the first word will be to. Then we have to get the idea of a future action, to be about to verb. To be about to verb. It's pretty rare that we say that in English, but that would be a good literal translation of a future active infinitive. Let's get amo up here again. Kind of wish I wouldn't delete amo every time. Amo amare maui amata. So how do we make this into a future active infinitive? We're actually going to take the word amatum, put it down here. We're going to insert you are into this word. How? And then we're going to, and then we're going to add a second word, essa. There's your future active infinitive. Take the fourth part, insert you are, add essa. How are we going to remember to insert you are into a future active infinitive? How in the world are we going to remember to use you are to express a future active infinitive? I just don't know. All right. So, if the future active infinitive can be translated to be about to verb, amatura mesa means to be about to love. Aww. Alright, makes sense, and obviously that you are is your indicator that it's a future active infinitive. Remember the perfect passive infinitives that could live without the essa? You guessed it, the future active infinitive can survive without the essa as well. So sometimes it will just be amaturum, no essa, and it'll mean to be about to love. Okay, that's really all there is in terms of new forms and major new concepts. But before I leave you, I want to remind you of something I showed you earlier in the year. When you run across infinitives, and you need this in your notes, gentlemen, you need this in your notes. When you run across infinitives, the big question is when to translate them. So I'm going to suggest to you that one way to translate them is go main verb, then translate your accusative, then translate your infinitive. For example, I don't know, gosh, he decided to eat the kitten. Whoops, I lied. That's backwards. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. He ordered the soldier to eat. All right, he ordered the soldier in the accusative to eat. That works very well in this order. And note, it could have another accusative after it if it wanted. He ordered the soldier to eat the kitten. Okay, so one way to handle infinitives is go main verb, accusative, infinitive, and then maybe even another accusative. Option number 2. Second way to translate infinitives when you see them. Go main verb, then infinitive, then accusative. So, he decided to eat the kitten. Okay, he decided to eat the kitten. So there's infinitive, accusative. Now, one more possibility. You could start your translation with infinitive, then go to accusative, then go to main verb, especially if it's a form of sum. For example, to eat a kitten is fun. Okay, to eat a kitten is fun. Alright, so have these 3 different approaches in your notebook. Written down in your notebook. Actual physical notes. Who knows? Maybe you'll be quizzed on it. Alright? And that is all we have for this assignment. Remember that our vocab list is a beastly hard list of verbs. If you have your book with you, it might be wise to start memorizing those words. You saw the list on Friday, so you know it's hard, so hopefully you've begun the process already. Another thing I hope, too, is that you've never had anyone eat one of your kittens before, because if so, this probably was really traumatic for you. All right, that's all. Wow, later.